Picture an antique watch, 200 years old, rare, precise, a piece of craftsmanship that took someone a lifetime to master. Now picture two rooms. First room, a pawn shop. Fluorescent light, a guy behind the counter barely looks up. He turns the watch over, sees a scratch on the back, and says, 20 bucks. In the second room, that's a jewelry appraiser, same watch. And the person holds it up to the light, sees the craftsmanship, the age, the rarity, and says, this is worth thousands. Same watch, two completely different numbers. Now, here's the part that should stop you cold. If you all you ever did was walk into the pawn shop, you would walk away believing you were worth $20. Is that true? Comment live if you're watching this live and replay if you're watching this later. So, the watch is you. And today I want to talk about the rooms you've been letting set your price. You're brilliant, successful, high achieving, and you're still quietly, invisibly living like you're worth crumbs. And the wild part, you don't even realize you're doing it. Because self-worth isn't a feeling that shows up once in a life. It's secret engine running underneath every decision you make. It's your relationships, what you allow, what you tolerate. It's in your paycheck, it's in your boundaries, it's in your voice, your silence, your rest, your exhaustion. Your I'm fine when you're absolutely not fine. We think self-worth is something we feel, but it's actually something we live. It shows up in the smallest, most ordinary moments you'd never think to call a word problem. And let me show you what I mean. You are in a meeting, you have something important to say. Your stomach tightens, you hesitate, someone else speaks first. And you tell yourself, it's fine, mine wasn't that important anyway. That's self-worth. You carry the entire mental load at home, the planning, the remembering, the emotional temperature of the whole household. Not because you want to, but because some part of you feels guilty if you don't. That's self-worth. You say yes when you mean no. You apologize for things you didn't do. You soften your tone so no one feels threatened. You over-explain your decisions. You make yourself smaller so no one else feels uncomfortable. That's self-worth. You stay quiet even when your body is screaming that something isn't right. You tolerate less than you deserve. That's also self-worth. Comment shrink if you just recognize yourself in one of those moments, even just one. So the real question isn't how do I change more or how do I ask more for, how do I ask for more? The real question is where else in my life am I accepting less than my truth? Because here's how self worth actually operates. I have help today. When it's low, you don't occasionally choose a smaller life. You unconsciously design one. Not because you're incapable, you're clearly not, but because some part of you decided a long time ago that small was safer. So let's go back to the watch. Its value never changes based on which room it's standing in. A pawn shop guy offering 20 bucks doesn't make the watch worth 20 bucks. It just means you brought a 200-year-old piece of craftsmanship into the wrong room and let that room set the price. And this is the most important distinction for high achieving women. You can be brilliant, talented, disciplined, emotionally intelligent, endlessly capable, and still live like you're worth crumbs. It has nothing to do with your competence. It has everything to do with the story you believe about who you are allowed to be. In my early coaching days, I remember staring at a number on the screen, my own price, and feeling in my throat, which was physically tightening. And I would lower it, not because the value wasn't there, it was there. I just didn't feel allowed to be there, allowed to charge so much. And I've talked to so many fellow coaches who've told me the exact same thing, staring at their own number, feeling that same tightness, and quietly talking themselves down before anyone even had a chance to say no. And that's not a pricing problem, that's a permission problem. And drop yes if you've ever caught yourself shrinking a number and ask or or ask for an opinion before anyone even reacted to anything. So here's what actually is happening underneath all of this, and that's a crucial thing to understand. Your feeling of unworthiness doesn't come from you, from your true essence. It comes from a story, a thought you've been carrying so long it feels like a fact. The story usually sounds something like, I must achieve more or shrink more or to be accepted. The story is the source of all the shrinking. But when the noise quiets down, even for a moment, you see something that was always true underneath it. Your worth was never something you had to build, it's something you'd simply forgotten. The intelligence that runs your life, the one quietly keeping your heart beating right now, has never once needed your permission to be whole. The moment you can see the thought, I'm not enough, as a thought and not as a truth, you create a sliver of space, and in that space something shifts. That inner clarity doesn't stay internal, it starts moving outward. You speak differently, you stop apologizing for your own presence, you ask for what you need, and you stop tolerating what your nervous system can no longer carry. You set boundaries without guilt. You stop chasing approval from rooms that were never going to value you correctly anyway. And you walk into rooms differently. You feel at home in your own life. And yes, eventually you price your work differently too. Not from fear, from truth, but that's just one small expression of it. The real shift is underneath it all. Because the real story is this: self worth is the quiet decision to stop abandoning yourself every day, every room, in every relationship. It's not loud, it's not a slogan, it's not a forced affirmation you repeat in the mirror. It's simply finally recognizing your own value and letting your life rise to meet it. So let's do something together right now. If you're wondering where to even start with the smallest place you shrink, not the big scary thing, just the tiny one. And that hesitation, maybe it could be that hesitation before you speak in a meeting, or that apology you give for absolutely nothing, or that I'm fine when you say, because you say it when it's not, in fact, fine. And I want you to think of one of those moments right now, one place today or this week where you've already caught yourself shrinking. Now ask yourself three things. First, what did I tell myself in that moment to justify staying small? Maybe that it wasn't important, or it's easier this way. I don't want to make it awkward, or something like that. The second question is, what is that smallness actually costing me? And It could be your voice, your energy, your income, your peace. Just think and feel. And third question is, what is the one honest sentence I could say instead next time this exact moment shows up? It's not a speech, not a defense, one clean, honest sentence. Because that's how our life expands again. Not all at once, but one moment of worthiness at a time. And if you want to take this even deeper, sit with these following questions when you'll have a quiet minute. First, where in my life have I let the wrong room set my price? What is one place I've been shrinking that has nothing to do with money at all? If I fully believed my own word, what is one thing I would stop tolerating this week? What would it look like to walk into the right room, the one that actually sees my value? So let's get back to that watch. The right room will always value you correctly. Your job isn't to convince the pawn shop to pay more. Your job is to stop walking into the pawn shop. Never stay somewhere you're not seen. Never stay somewhere your value isn't recognized. It's time to demand more, not from arrogance, but because you finally remembered who you are. And your value was never set by someone else's opinion of you. It was only ever set by the story you believed about yourself. Know your worth and stop setting for anything less than it. And this, the unshrinking, the unforgetting, the daily practice of not abandoning yourself is exactly the work I walk women through inside my one-on-one coaching, Coming Home to Yourself. If today's life named something in you, comment word below and I'll send you today's practice to keep with you, to have it with you and do it every day. And if this pattern runs deep, if you've been living in rooms that were never going to pay you what you're worth, DM me the word coming home and let's start the conversation. There are also links to the free workbook and the $7 course in the first comment. And it's going to be easier if you're going to switch to my channel or subscribe to it. So if this was useful, don't miss tomorrow's live. And that's going to be the final one of the 30 that I've made this month. Take care.